Hello, beauties. This is Julia, and welcome to the Total Body Hormone Reset. This is a deep dive into how to rebalance your hormones. And we're going to have a teaching session that you will receive daily about the top causes for hormonal imbalance and what you can do in your daily life and what we do diet-wise, and then you can replicate at home as it relates to hormone balance. We're going to start with an overview in terms of what are symptoms of hormone imbalance and what causes hormone imbalance. So usually when we are experiencing hormone imbalance, we experience it as poor sleep, lack of energy, a decrease in our libido, a decrease in the quality and the effervescence of our skin and our hair, weight gain that we can't quite correlate with dietary transgressions, shall we call them, and feeling in a more agitated state. So more easily depressed, more easily upset, more easily annoyed, more easily angered, and feeling just out of sorts. These are all signs of hormonal imbalance. So why do we attack, or why do we look at, or why do we focus on our hormones? And at the same time, I have to ask, why do we ignore them? Because most often hormonal imbalance is something that's relegated to women, but it affects both women and men equally. And it affects us at all ages. And it affects our entire system. Because just like a foot injury can end up in your back because of the chain of muscles going from your foot to your calf, to your hamstring, to your glute, to your lower back, an imbalance in one hormone causes an imbalance throughout because all of your hormones are related. So if insulin is out of whack, cortisol is out of whack. Cortisol is out of whack, estrogen's out of whack. They are all related. And so when we address hormonal imbalance, we're actually addressing the entire body. How you feel moving through your day, how you feel when you wake up, how you feel when it's 4 o'clock. So that is why focusing on hormonal balance is so very important. I will say here, and please don't hate me, that I personally believe that a lot of the things that women suffer, and I do see this in my clients, a lot of the things that women suffer under the guise of female hormones, or, oh, it's just that stage of life, or, you know, it's inevitable, or this is what menopause is like, this is what perimenopause is like, this is what pregnancy is like, this is what post-pregnancy is like. I honestly do not believe that any of that is necessary. I do not believe that this beautiful body of a woman that we have was created to cause us suffering. I believe that the body always is seeking equilibrium. And it's seeking health. Like, it has its own internal intelligence that is always seeking health. And so when these things come up, instead of it being an antagonistic relationship with our body, we have to stop and say, my body loves me. My body is always seeking what's best for me. My body is always seeking health. So what is it telling me in this space? What is it telling me in that I'm waking up wet in my bed? What is it telling me that I can't fall asleep? What is it telling me that suddenly I've gained 10 pounds? And when we begin from that point of view, investigators as I call it, then we can uncover where the disconnect is and we can repair it. So to start with the overview, and every session will deal with one aspect of this overview. And of course, we will always touch on nutrition because it is so vital, so important. but a lot of your nutrition is being handled for you, pre-programmed in to bring you balance. So here we go. So top reasons that we suffer hormonal imbalance. First is food. And when I say food, it's not eating a healthy diet. Of course, we all know that when you don't eat a healthy diet, there are going to be repercussions. And one of those is hormonal imbalance. But a lot of people in the Jolie world eat healthy or think that they eat healthy or know what it means to eat healthy. And so let's assume that you're a super healthy eater. Why do you have hormonal imbalance? And let's assume that you are not a healthy eater. Why do you have hormonal imbalance? On both ends of the spectrum, the answer tends to be the same. And I will talk about sugar separately because sugar is diabolical in terms of our hormones, but also our body and our beauty and our youth and how we feel and inflammation in our brains. But first I'm going to touch on nutritional deficiencies because that is the core of what we are trying to address in your hormone reset. We are trying to address the nutritional deficiencies that cause hormone dysregulation. So to have healthy hormones, you need the building blocks for those hormones, and at the same time, you need what is necessary along the chemical pathway that creates the hormones. And the top deficiencies that we find are magnesium, because our soil is generally depleted of magnesium, even within organic farming, particularly industrial organic farming. So when you go buy that big crate of greens called Earthbound or some other national brand, I can guarantee you that with all the love that goes into producing organic food, after a while producing at that scale, in the same plot of land, we see nutritional deficiencies in the soil. And there are many articles written about what's happening, particularly in California, as it relates to the soil with organic farming. This is one of the reasons why I am so incredibly passionate about small farmers, because small farmers are more often than not doing it because of deep passion for the earth, for the craft, for feeding people, for growing food. And they take care of the soil better. They put back into the soil what is taken out through cover crops, through the use of manures, through the use of plants like legumes that sequester nutrients like nitrogen into the soil, and by tilling. So what I mean by that is not the disruptive tilling that caused the Dust Bowl, but putting back into the soil that top layer. So when the plant vines die down, assuming they're not diseased, turning that plant material back into the earth so it can be broken down, enriched, and it helps us to have food that is more nutrient dense. And so that's why at Jolie and personally, we are so committed to medium to small size farms, because they take care of the earth. And when they take care of the earth, their food takes care of me and their food takes care of you. So nutritional deficiencies, magnesium. During this program, I very, very, very much suggest that you begin with a magnesium supplement. And magnesium is one of those wonderful minerals that it is very hard to OD on. Your body will tell you if it has too much. You will start to get the runs, at which point you back up. But magnesium, I could go on for hours about the glories of magnesium. It affects your cardiovascular system. It affects your blood pressure, your heart health. It affects so many parts of you, but it also affects your hormones. So I would like for you to begin taking magnesium supplementation. You can start with the lowest dose and then begin to work yourself up, like increasing incrementally every 3 to 7 days until you feel the difference. in your sleep, in your body, in how you feel. And I'll tell you a short little story. I love cucumbers. They are like my favorite. And it's very easy, even when eating healthy, to become magnesium deficient and not even know it. And I did not take magnesium, and I started having signs of magnesium deficiency, which is like muscle cramping or like restless legs, even like an elevation in your blood pressure is related to magnesium deficiency. And so I started taking magnesium. And at the same time, like, I had this overwhelming like craving for cucumbers. Like, I could not eat enough cucumbers. It was as if I was pregnant. Like, I just had to have them all the time and eat an outrageous number of cucumbers. Thankfully, cucumbers are extremely hydrating, high in fiber, and very low in calories. Anyway, there was one tipping point where I was like, I don't have any desire anymore for cucumbers. And it was like a switch had turned off. And so I did some investigation about, okay, what are cucumbers super high in? Like, why would you crave them? That type of stuff. And I found out, not surprisingly, that they're super high in magnesium. And and this is where I say, like, our body is always, always, always looking to be healthy. It was my body's call, my body's cry, my body's like urge for magnesium that was fueling this cucumber desire. And after supplementing for, I would say 6 to 8 weeks, I had corrected that magnesium deficiency. My muscles felt better. My sleep was better. I woke up better. Everything was better. And suddenly I didn't need cucumbers. So there we go. I want you to supplement with magnesium. The other deficiency that frequently happens is in the B vitamins, which we are addressing in your food extensively, and that's why we rely so heavily on vegetables, both green vegetables and colorful vegetables, for your B vitamin complex. Zinc is another mineral that is frequently deficient that aids to an imbalance of hormones. Unfortunately, zinc sometimes is hard to come by in quantity. Brazil nuts have a lot of it. They also have a lot of selenium. There are various sea creatures that have lots of zinc in them. But I highly recommend supplementing with zinc. And it's for hormone balance, but it's also extraordinarily protective for your immune system. So far we have magnesium, a definite must. We have zinc, another definite must. We have your B vitamins, which we are addressing in the moment as you're eating. And we have iodine. Iodine is something that the healthier you are, the more likely you are to have iodine deficiency, because one of the first things, or if you're a foodie, one of the first things that happens is you switch from the Morton salt to sea salt. And when you make that switch, or to kosher salt, if that's kind of like your midway point, when you make that switch, what do you lose? You lose iodine, because the regular table salt is fortified with iodine. And why did they start fortifying it? Because we all need iodine. We need it to live. So as a very healthy person, it's very likely that you are lacking iodine. If you rely on sea salt for your salting of food, you most likely need iodine. But here again, we have you covered, and my desire is to teach you how to do this in the wild, as I like to call it, but in real life. And what we are using, and what I recommend because it is so super simple, are sea vegetables. Sea vegetables are your seaweeds. They are your kelps. They are your nori. They are both dried and fresh if you can find them. And they come in a variety of colors, from white like the agar to bright red, all different colors. And you literally don't need a lot. You just need a little sprinkle every day. And so for your reset, we're including a lot of seaweed in your diet. So you're gonna find seaweed in your sauces. You're gonna find kelp noodles. You're gonna find a very special seaweed broth that we created. I created to help really support your hormonal balance. And we'll talk more in depth about seaweed because it is helpful on so many different levels. But we are focusing today on its iodine, because with its iodine, it will support your thyroid. And your thyroid is something to be concerned about and to care about before you end up with a thyroid condition. And we see that thyroid conditions, whether it's hypo or hyper, are becoming more and more prevalent, and they're very much connected to autoimmune disease. And so as our maintenance of our hormonal balance, we always want to be aware of supporting the function of our thyroid, even when we don't have a problem. And an easy, no-brainer way of doing that is beginning to integrate sea vegetables into your diet. So you can buy a little shaker of nori and keep it like you have your salt, your pepper, and your nori, and you just shake that on whatever, on your salad, on some vegetables, on your sweet potato, whatever you're eating, and you barely taste it. And since you don't need a lot, you can really integrate it in. If you love seaweed like I do, it's wonderful to put in broths. It flavors the broth, and then you eat the seaweed. It's just a very delightful vegetable to begin integrating, and it has so many benefits to your body. So on the subject of the top causes, we have nutritional deficiency, which we addressed in this session. We have exercise, and we're going to talk about that as it relates to what are the perfect exercises for hormonal balance. And I invite you to come with me to barre, which I think is fabulous for hormonal balance for various reasons, which I will explain tomorrow. So please come. There is free class for you, 10:30 at Barre Bernardsville. That will be Tuesday, tomorrow. Come, join me, have fun. Just Barre is wonderful. I can't say enough good things about it. There's also Pure Barre, which I absolutely, positively adore, which is in New Providence, that you can also go with me there. They have some really awesome classes that are different than Barre Bernardsville. Next, we'll talk about stress. Stress is a huge contributor to hormonal imbalance because of how it inherently creates imbalances or dysregulation of hormones, because spiking some, which then influences the others. We will talk about sleep, which is a concern of many, particularly during perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopausal. We will talk about the late afternoon slump, and we're actually going to talk about that before we talk about sleep. I listed that as the top cause of hormonal imbalance because we do lots of things in the late afternoon that we wouldn't ordinarily do that directly affect our hormones, and most importantly, directly affect our sleep quality, which then in turn affects our hormones. We will speak on estrogen metabolism, the lack of metabolizing estrogen, and metabolism is the breaking down of something. So we have food metabolism, you break down food into energy. We have estrogen metabolism, we break down used estrogen. So we will talk about that and how our lifestyle, how what we're eating, how our diet, how our movement affects estrogen metabolism. And we will talk about sugar, the insidious sugar. And you will notice in your meal program that we take out a lot of your sugars, and we begin to sort of develop and cultivate a different kind of palate that is attuned to sweetness in the way that nature wanted sweetness. So that's it for today. 20 minutes is up. Don't want to make this too long. look at it again, listen to it again, write down the points that are your to-dos for the next 2 to 3 weeks, so that you can begin to integrate those things into your life. And I don't want a laundry list. I want, okay, I'm going to go out and get my magnesium and zinc supplement, vitamin D2, I forgot about that one. I'm gonna go out and get that, put that and take that once a day. I'm gonna go get some sea vegetables, put that next to my salt and pepper and my seasonings, and that will be my action step. So that's your action step. Go for it. And if you have any questions, please contact me. I love, love, love questions. Okay. Remember, everything can change in an instant the moment you decide to flip the switch, which is what you're doing here. Bye-bye.